like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, where today we are taking a look at our second game in our series of reviewing every single Sega Saturn game in the PAL region. Now originally I was going to do Deep Fear, but I've actually been sidetracked by playing Ark the Lad and Shining Force 3. I wanted to contrast sort of like the first Saturn game, Virtua Fighter, with the last PAL Saturn game, Deep Fear, but that's going to be in a future video. And instead we're going to be taking a look at a Saturn game I played a lot of and I know it really well, Victory Boxing. Now this is one of those Saturn games that I think is pretty sort of like undervalued and underrated in the Saturn's library. So I thought we'd take a look at this today and we would see if Victory Boxing hits you with a knockout blow or whether it's lay on the mat for the count of 10. So let's take a look at Victory Boxing. Whoosh.
Keep your rhythm.
Now the first thing I noticed actually was the video quality wasn't actually too bad on this game when I started watching the intro. For saying it's a fairly old Saturn game, it came out in December of 1995, I actually thought the video quality in the intro was pretty good, and it does set the tone actually quite well for the game. You've got your trainer on the outside barking out his instructions to you as you see a couple of people going at it in the ring. So once you load up, you get onto the main menu screen. You've got your main event, your sparring, your VS mode, your debut, which is your created character, and you've got your options. Now I would always suggest going under the options and going down to the control method and changing that to the easy one, because this means your uppercut is mapped to Y and Z, and it just makes it a more pleasurable playing experience. There's no need to make it harder or tougher than it is. So do that straight away. So your main event mode is where all of the main action will take place. It's the career mode where you take your created character from the bottom of the rankings and you try and batter your way all the way to the top to win the title of whatever weight rank your created character is on. Now obviously we need to talk about the graphics first. The game is a primitive 3D boxing game. It was one of the first 3D boxing games out, and in all fairness it doesn't look too bad. It's better looking than Virtua Fighter in my opinion, which we reviewed previously. The characters are solid, they are chunky looking, they look like boxers. They're obviously very blocky. Not as blocky as Virtua Fighter, but we've got some texture map polygons here. The faces don't look too bad either. Yes, the polygons are a little bit glitchy in places where they're touching. And another thing you might notice with the graphics is the collision detection is not great. I mean, on a standard size fighter, it's okay, but then when you fight a big bulky guy, it clearly looks like you're punching him, and it's having absolutely no effect. But that just seems to be the way it was made. I think it was designed around a particular height and size of fighter, and everything was just based on that. So even if you're fighting someone bigger and chunkier, it's almost acting as if you're fighting a standard sized character. The arena itself, the boxing ring is fine. It's colourful, it's pretty crisp and clear. Nothing really to complain about there. Obviously the main drawbacks with the graphics are the fans. They're diabolical, they're just a few blobby sprites in the background. It definitely doesn't give you a sense of fighting in a massive action-packed arena. It's more like a local dingy hall or something down your back street, rather than a big massive stadium full of cheering fans, which is a little bit disappointing. Now, in terms of the sound effects and music in the game, it's not too bad. The sound effects are probably a bit repetitive. The way it sounds when you punch your opponents isn't the most convincing of noises. It definitely isn't a heavy thud as you would expect, as if you were punching a boxer. It doesn't sound too bad when they hit the canvas, but other than that, the sound effects for your fights aren't that realistic. You get some commentary over the top, not what I'd really call commentary, but it's a little bit muffled. It's not the clearest. Same with your trainer when he barks in to tell you to dodge and weave and don't blow yourself up and stuff like that. It's not the clearest. It's okay. It's there. It doesn't really add anything to the game. One strength of the sounds, though, is a few of the tracks. They're actually really good. If you pop the Virtual Boxing, Victory Boxing CD into your CD player, you can actually listen to the tracks. And the first track in particular is a very catchy tune, and I'm going to play it now for you just to listen to some of that. As with all games, though, it tends to be how it plays, and thankfully Victory Boxing still plays pretty well to this day. Once you suss it out and you get to grips with the way it plays, it's actually a really good sort of technical fighting game. You've got A as your guard, B as your jab, C as your hook, and then once you change the controls, Y or Z does your uppercuts and X does your taunts, and the control scheme actually works really well. Double tapping up or down will move your fighter quickly in that direction. Same with right or left, meaning you can try and get around, and these are actually skills that are pretty critical to having a good level of success in this game. If you go straight into it thinking you can button mash like in a Battle Arena Toshinden type game and come away with some success, you will get knocked on your ass and you won't get back up, and you will lose and lose again. And this is what happened to me when I first played the game. I thought, oh yeah, there's the controls, I'm sure I can do okay on this, and I got battered. I absolutely got battered, and it really does take a few fights to suss out how to play this game, going in, throwing some jabs, dropping back, getting your energy back and stuff, and you will really rely on your jab for a big level of success in the game. One thing that is challenging in the gameplay, in fact it's so far proved impossible to me in probably about 100 fights, is knocking your opponent out. Just a straight knockout. I've not managed to do it. I've hit them with uppercuts, jabs, hooks, combos, and I simply haven't knocked them down. They get back up on 8 every time, and I've won every single fight of my fighters' careers with a TKO. I've not knocked anyone out with a straight knockout whatsoever. I don't know if there is some secret hidden technique to do it, but I certainly don't know it. The computer will have no problem knocking you out, though, if you give them the chance. The final thing in the game to talk about really is how much lifespan replayability does it give you, and thankfully Victory Boxing does have a good lifespan, and that's helped by the fact it's got a career mode where you start from the bottom, you work your way to the top, you learn combos off your trainer, who is a complete rip-off of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York and Escape from LA, and that adds to the gameplay because you're kind of getting better at the game and learning new moves as well along the way as you battle to become the #1 ranked fighter in the world. Once you've won the title as well, you can carry on fighting and defend the title to just add a bit more longevity to it, and depending on how you create your character, different weight classes and stuff, so you'll be in fighting against different size characters and stuff as well, which is a bit of variety. Obviously having the versus mode helps, because any game with a 2-player option instantly has a level of replayability that a single player game simply does not have. If this was a one-player game, it probably wouldn't have anywhere near the long-term appeal. Obviously, you do need someone to play two-player with, and I don't have anybody. But that being said, if you do, this game will provide you with even more lifespan. Obviously, it's always good as well to create a character and then perhaps create another character, perhaps a right-handed one and a left-handed one, different heights and weights, so you really get a feel for the different styles that you can pull off in the game. All in all, when you think in the fact that it only costs about £8 to buy, this gives you great value for money, because it does take several hours to plow through all your opponents and get to the top of the rankings and win the world title.
Got it, beat. Look at that killer blow. Bob and weave, bob and weave. What a pro. The capacity crowd is on its feet. What a pro. Oh, the fear blow. Don't get caught. They're getting back up.
So there you have it, Victory Boxing on the Saturn. Now, I'm sure if you haven't figured it out already, I am definitely recommending this game. It has held up amazingly well despite being an old fighting game. A lot of the first generation of 3D games on the 32-bit systems don't really hold up very well over time, but Victory Boxing, if you put a little bit of time into it to learn the way it plays and accept the way it is, then it can be a very rewarding experience. I'm not going to lie. What I have done for this game, though, is dug out an old review from CVG, so I'm going to stick that up there for you to see. Now, obviously, Victory Boxing scored 82% in that review, and I think that's pretty much spot on. I think I agree with pretty much everything that CVG magazine says, and actually Virtua Boxing, it's Victory Boxing. I will get that in my head eventually. Victory Boxing holds up really well, and it remains playable to this day. What are your thoughts on Victory Boxing? Have you ever even played Victory Boxing? Leave a comment down below. Now, I don't usually do this, but I would love people to subscribe to the channel. I want to get to about 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, if that's at all possible. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Let me know on games that you want to see in forthcoming reviews. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.